be recorded. Perfect. So I'm gonna share my screen and we're going to get into budgeting and what it is and how you can get started. All right. So let me see, make sure everything's. Hi, everyone. My name is Biani Washington. I am a student ambassador with the Society for Financial Education and Professional Development. SFEPD is a nonprofit leader committed to enhancing financial education for college students studying at HBCUs. So first things first, if you all could take a moment to fill out this survey. It's like a pre-quiz that kind of lets the nonprofit know how much you knew before you started the financial literacy class. And then at the end, we're going to do a post quiz telling them how much you learned. So if you want to take a minute and scan the code to do the survey and let me know when you're done with a thumbs up. Okay, I see one thumbs up. Mute. Right now, we are doing the post survey before I start, or the pre-survey. So we get an idea of what you know before we actually do the class. Okay, so we got something in the chat. Hello, hello, peace, day. All right, so we're gonna move on to the next slide. Hi, Goody. If you want to go ahead and scan the pre-survey code to get an idea on how much you know before we start the survey, the class. We're gonna give it one more minute.
Do you got a link? 'Cause I'm on my phone.
I can drop the link into the chat. One moment. Okay, so we're back. And the link is officially in the chat. So if anybody needs it, they can reference the chat. So financial journeys, the past, and a path forward. So let's get into it. What you want to know is budgeting is one of the most fundamental components of financial planning. Creating a budget is how you get an organized picture of your income and expenses and gain clarity about what your money is actually being used for. It helps you get clear about your cash flow. Does anybody in here already have a budget? Okay. No, that's okay. So today we are going to learn budgeting values and financial goal settings and how to manage your money by budgeting, how to manage your money by setting concrete financial goals, and how to create a personal financial plan, and how to identify ways to increase income and decrease spending. Budgeting is more than numbers crunching. It's evaluating your individual family values and your values, evaluating your priorities, establishing financial goals, determining your needs, wants, and identifying resources. What is values-based budgeting? So, values-based budgeting is determining what is useful for you, what is your income, your savings, and deciding on what you want to spend your money on. It sets forth meaningful guidelines for allocating our limited resources and provides a hierarchy for goal setting, values, priorities, and goals. Okay. Why should you put your values first? We are easily distracted from our intentions. Our spending easily goes adrift, and it can help align your income, savings, and spending choices with what we consider important. And it also helps us make consistent financial decisions and take committed actions. Mhm, mhm. So, first things first, clarifying your values. What principles, qualities, or pursuits are most worthwhile and desirable? What concerns do you most care about? And what meaningful ideas do you cherish? What are you most passionate about? And if you want to just drop some clarifying values that you have to help make your budget, because I want to make budgets with you all by the end of this class, once we get through all the slides. So if you could drop, what are you most passionate about, or meaningful ideals you do cherish, concerns you care most about, and qualities, principles that are most worthwhile and desirable to you. Mm, mm, mm. All right. Establishing your financial goals. Financial decisions will depend on your personal goals. Having no concrete goals means it's difficult to make smart budgeting decisions. Common objectives for financial goal setting. Improve cash flow, accumulate savings, reduce expenses, pay down debt, fund retirement, fund education, to have money to achieve a personal desire, to finance a time-specific outcome, to create financial stability due to less frivolous spending. Time-specific. So you will have your short-term money goals. Those are within 1 year. Your intermediate money goals within 5 years. And then your long-term money goals is anything between 5 to 10 years and beyond. So to evaluate the financial impact of your goals, You want to ask yourself, are your goals in sync with your income? Which goals will require the most money? When will you need the money? And which goals are most important to you? So this is a sample sheet. My goals, objective, building an emergency fund, short term, medium term, long term. I would say building an emergency fund can be medium term. And then reduce debt. You want to get that done as quickly as possible. So I would say medium term, depending on how much debt it is. Buy a house, definitely long term. It's a big investment. Buy a car can be anywhere between medium to long term. And then increase or purchase life insurance can be anything between medium and long term. Finance children's college education, definitely long term goals. Taking an expensive vacation, which one do y'all think? Is that short, medium, or long term?
Short.
Why? I would say it's short because your vacation can look like going down the street and setting up camp somewhere, or going out of town and eating dinner in a different place. So it's dependent on what type of vacation you are.
Cause like uh, cause the vacation's like a temporary. You know what I mean? It's like you're saving temporarily, which is a short term. You know what I mean to, go on vacation, have fun. You know what I'm saying? Enjoy yourself. I would say.
Okay, yeah, definitely. Um, Start a business, short term, medium, or long term. Mm, I'm gonna say anywhere between medium to long term because there's fees that come with businesses and products that you have to buy, and it's going to take a while to get a return on investment, depending on how fast you're selling or whatever you are selling. And so you can continue this on. Maybe take a screenshot or take a picture of this for your own personal reasons, and I can send you a college student budget sheet in your emails for those who came. Take stock of where you are. How much do you spend each month? How much debt have you accumulated? Do you have an emergency fund to cover 3 to 12 months? And how much have you saved? And how much more could you save if you spent even a little less? Okay. Understand where your money is going. Maintain a weekly spending log. Save receipts. Note cash expenditures. Record all checks and debt card transactions. Okay, and take note on your household spending. This is an average on how much American households spend their money and what areas they specifically spend their money in. And so developing a personal budget sheet. And so this is the budget sheet that they provide. Um, so I will send this copy to y'all so you can use it for yourselves. Um, mhm, mhm. Why do we neglect budgeting anyway? Okay, let's talk about it. We prefer to avoid knowing the areas of overspending. We have discretionary income and just don't believe budgeting can impact our finances. And we believe budgeting only is important when facing financial difficulties. It takes too much work, fear of what it will reveal about our financial situation. So if any of that resonated with you, then just take note on the longer you push it off, the worse it's going to get. So it's better to face whatever fear you have as quickly as possible and not to make that a habit, running away from things you don't want to know the answers to. Okay, so budget misconceptions. If you make enough money to pay your bills, you don't need a budget. That's not true. Okay, please get you a budget. Budgets are only for people in financial trouble. No, that is not true. Budgets can stop you from being in financial trouble. Budgets are only for people with fixed and low incomes. There are still million people who make six figures and live check to check. Okay. You should only budget if you're planning a major purchase. If you budget, then you can plan major purchases and a lot more. Okay. You can plan out your whole lifestyle, not just one significant moment in your life. Okay, so why budget? To understand cash flow and how money is being used, increase predictability, to establish a spending plan that is based on resources and that supports goals, to help avoid financial trouble, manage surprises when they happen, and to help avoid waste and maximize financial worth. Steps in making a budget. So list your income, list your expenses, set priorities for essential and discretionary expenses, but do not exceed your income. Can y'all still hear me? Okay. Compute spending ratios for each expense. For an example, annual auto loan payment for 4,800 divided by annual income of 40,000 equals spending ratio of 12%. Identify income sources, wages/salary, income from self-employment, interest and dividends, alimony or child support, or even if somebody just gives you money, that's called in-kind money. Keep a list of everywhere your money comes from, okay? Identify your fixed expenses, which expenses are set in stone, more or less. For example, housing, taxes, utilities, insurance, automobiles, and other bills. Identify your variable expenses. These are things that can fluctuate. So your food, gas, entertainment, gifts, vacation, and tuition. Identify things that you can live without, like entertainment, eating out, vacation, games and recreation, gifts, and other discretionary expenses. Budget for emergency savings. Reserve fund worksheet. Line 1. Reserve fund retirement. This amount represents at least 4 to 6 times your monthly expenses. And so in order to calculate your monthly expenses, go ahead, if you already have a list of things that you bought, or you can go into your banking app, take note on all the things that you bought this month, add it up, and that would be considered your 1 month expense. And you would times that by 4, 6 to get an idea of how much you need to set aside to reserve for emergency savings. Okay, so line 2, funds available now. Line 3, additional funds needed. Subtract line 2 from line 1, and line 4, the projected date for attaining your full reserve funds. How to handle budgeting trouble spots. Variable income biweekly pay cycles. Analyze and then divide by 12. Okay, they're going into the details here. Variable expenses, non-monthly expenses, and unexpected expenses. Okay. And so that was the sheet that I already showed y'all earlier, which you will get a copy of in your emails. Okay. And so you set some time aside on Sunday to fill out the budget sheet and then do the math on where you need to slow down spending money and invest more money in another area. Okay. And see if you have a surplus or a shortfall. So a surplus is increased savings, reducing debt, reallocating to short and long-term goals. And shortfalls is reducing and eliminating expenses, determining what expenses are a priority, and consider savings as a source and find ways to increase income. Identify what's eating up your cash. Okay. Evaluate financial culprits, fees, services you don't need, or costs for services that can be reduced. Insurance premiums, try to find a lower deductible. Interest charges on credit cards, mortgage rates, and that's why we want to pay off debt as soon as possible to decrease interest, okay? Decrease the amount of interest we pay. And then evaluate lifestyle patterns. How can you modify what you do save, what you do to save money? Yep. How to look for what needs to be fixed. Compare monthly budget amounts with actual. Over budget, under budgeted, you must identify the cause of the variance. Helpful even if you have a surplus of money. Implement ways to stop cash flow leaks. If you have difficulties maintaining good cash flow, leave your credit cards at home. Or just lock your credit card and you won't have to worry about that, okay? Pay off your credit card balance each month. If you want to give a little extra, more than your minimum, please do that. As you pay off debt, set new payment amounts for the remaining debts. Comparison shop for all large purchases. Learn to say no when kids, friends, and relatives ask for money. Take all your allowable tax deductions and determine if you claim more exemptions to increase your take-home pay. Get everyone on board. Budgeting requires individual, family, and family commitments. Budgeting changes requires lifestyle changes and sacrifices for a little bit. You don't have to sacrifice for your whole entire life. Just commit to doing some strict budgeting for 2 months. And if you like the results, you'll change up the budget so that you can live with whatever you sacrifice for that 2 months and sacrifice something else and just flip back and forth for at least 4 months and get the rewards. And then you won't have to continue sacrificing those one or two things because you reach your goal by then. Okay. Budgeting requires conversation and compromise, which is completely okay if that person loves you and actually wants to see you succeed. And if this conversation leads to other things, that reveals who or what that thing means to you in your life. Adjusting your budget requires adjustable habits and patience. Okay, so stay flexible. Small lifestyle adjustment matters. So this is an example of a budget. So here's some tips. Keep organized records, limit spending, control recurring expenses, and establish and maintain good credit. And so I will show you all of my budgeting things at the end of these slides because I want to make sure I get through the key parts of budgeting in regards to facts. And so you want to also remain focused on a specific goal, reevaluate your goals every 6 months, and as you complete one goal, reallocate the extra money to new goals instead of spending the extra cash. So take action. Develop a diary of at least 30 days to identify what values are reflected in your expenditures. Identify how much you spend each month on various items. When listing your expenses, divide them into 3 categories: fixed, variable, and discretionary. Then distinguish between wants versus needs. Track your various payment types. Check to see if your current spending habits reflect your values, and use the following questions to assist you. So if you want to take a screenshot of this so you can do these questions, answer these questions along with filling out your budget for Sunday, please do so. Okay, and then take action. Part 2 is next, compare your spending to your earning to see if you have enough money to cover your expenses. If you have a shortfall, identify expenses that can be reduced. If you have a surplus, identify goals that will assist with setting aside money for savings or investing. Okay, so we got through the basics. If you all can do this post survey, I might need to drop it in the chat one moment. I'll drop it in the chat. And we are going to get into the second part of the budgeting class. Let me send this to you all one moment. Thank you once again for listening and coming. and learning. One moment. Let's share. So right now, I am going to share with you my personal budget sheet that has helped me a lot. Um, I started this budget sheet in 2023 to maybe 2023. So I've been using it for at least a year now. And I saved, okay, what you will hear in the background is my roommates, and I saved over $1,000 and started my emergency fund by using this budget sheet. Okay. Okay. Now I'm going. All right. So, how to use this budget sheet. So, what you'll see here is an example of someone using the budget sheet, but we're going to start with the unfilled part because I want to use the numbers you all have. Okay. So, first things first, how much money have you saved? This part you'll fill out last. So, I'm going to put 3. So, ideally, you want to put how much you get paid right here. And I'm gonna send you a copy of this too so that y'all can practice using it. So first things first, you're going to put how much you got paid, deposit amount, the date you did get paid. Okay. So someone put some numbers in the chat so I can fill this out as I talk. How much would a person get paid? Let's just say this is Luann. Okay. How much did Luann get paid this month? Okay, $15 an hour. Perfect. So Luann got paid $15 an hour. I will also get a calculator too because I prefer to do all of my budgeting, all my numbers stuff on a calculator month to month. So she got paid $15 an hour for 5 days a week, and she works 6 hours. So 6 hours times 5, 30. Okay, 6 times 5 is 30. And we're going to do 30 times 15. It's 450. Okay. And let's say she got paid every 2 weeks. So 450 plus 450. $900. Okay. Luann doing her thing out here. He got paid $900. Okay. And so let's say she got paid on the 28th. So she got paid today. Today's 09, 28, 24. Okay. And there was no taxes deducted from Luann's check. So she got $900. That's great. So what Luann is going to do here, she's going to take 50% of her money, her $900 times 50% of that is $450. She's going to set $450 aside, so for her living expenses. Is $450 enough to pay whatever her bills are? In this case, it's going to be. In this case, 450 is enough for whatever lifestyle Luann is living. And so if you do your own numbers and the 50% isn't enough for you to live whatever lifestyle you're living. Either for a little bit of time, you are going to have some, what was the word? It was surplus or shortfall. So shortfall is cut back on something so that you can use this budget methodology for a short period of time so that you can reach a certain goal. So if your goal is to save $500 um, for let's say a vacation somewhere, your goal is to save $500 and you have bills to pay, okay? You're going to want to do this budgeting method and consider what you want to sacrifice for at least 2, 3 months, okay? So that you can have this vacation of $500 somewhere.
And 3 months is dreadful.
Huh? 3 months?
3 months
Okay,
is a
well,
long time. That's a long time.
okay. If that's a long time, it's either that or you're going to have to increase your income. So you have two choices: increase your income or cut back on something for a 2 to 3 month time period to save this extra money, however much money this is. Okay. So you put your $450 into your living, and this pays your bills, your food, whatever it is. Okay. So we're going to get into this daily rate in a minute. But first, we're going to take 30% of this 900 and
Is
30
this the monthly income or the weekly income, like check
for
wise?
Luann, this is her weekly income. So she's going to do, well, for Luann, this is her every 2 weeks because she get paid every 2 weeks. So this is a budget sheet for every time you get paid.
Okay.
Okay. So for 30% of this $900 is $270. So Luann got $270 to do whatever she want to do. This is what I call her fun money, okay? She can go on and she can go down the street and get a massage. She can go to a really fancy dinner. She can throw a birthday, whatever. I don't know what people are doing with $270, but you gotta let your imagination run wild, okay? But her goal, $270 is close to 500. So Luann won't have to save for 2 to 3 months because she'll reach her $500 goal sooner. But if her goal was bigger, like maybe $2,000, she's gonna need to accumulate more before she reaches that 2,000. So we're gonna see how she does that in one moment. Okay. So now we're gonna take this $900 and we're gonna do times 20%. So let's see what 900 times 20. It's $180. So she's going to put her $180 right here. Her 180 is in her savings, okay? So I would suggest to have at least 3 banking accounts, one for your living, all your living expenses, and if you're on automation with your bills, having something separate for that. And for your fund, have a separate account for that. I highly recommend a high yield savings account because that way you at least have interest on your fund money. I will have a high yield savings account for your fund money and for your savings. So decide whatever and wherever you're going to put your 30% of your money that you're going to accumulate each time that you get paid and wherever you're going to put your 20%. I do recommend.
Wait, so you said get like a direct deposit for 3 separate accounts?
I would have 3 separate accounts for each of these variables. So each time you get paid, you put 50% in your one account, you put 30% every time in your second account, 20% in your third account. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so for me personally, I have Bank of America, and every time I get paid, I leave 50% of my direct deposit in my Bank of America account because that's my living, that's my Uber, that's my transportation, my food, and whatever other living things come up. And then for a little bit, I used to have my fund money on Cash App, but more recently I transitioned into Fidelity. It is a investment account. And so all of my fund money is in the Fidelity account and was in the Cash App. So I would put 30% in my Cash App every single time I got paid. And so over time, it would build up because I wouldn't spend all of my um 30%. And in Luann's case, I wouldn't spend all of my 270 because I had a strategy. Okay, so that's when we're going to go into daily rates. And then I still have Ally. Ally is a high yield savings account. And I would put 20% of my direct deposit into my high yield savings account. And that's how I was able to save more than $1,000 in my emergency savings. And so plus Ally is paying me to have my money there. So it's growing and I don't have to do too much. And so what we want to see is this 270 eventually get to what's our goal? Our goal is 500, but she's going to make 500 and no problem. So right now it's going to be 2000. Her goal, I need a goal section on this, but for me, so I remember how much we said her goal was. Her goal is to save $2,000 for this very expensive retreat she wants to go to. Sounds like me. um, so she already has $270 from her fund money. She needs $1,730 to reach her goal. And so what she's going to do is break this 450 down into smaller daily increments. So 10% of 450 is $45. Okay. And so she's going to do this because she wants to get an idea of what living below her means is going to actually look like. So with 10% of 450, Luann knows that if she spends $45 on whatever she spends $45 on, she knows that's 10% of her income. That's 10% of her living gone. Okay. And if she spends 10%, if she spends 10%, is it 10% 10 times or 10%? Basically, if you spend 25% 4 times, that's 100% of your money and it's gone. So that's why we're breaking it up to 1%, 2%, 3%, because it's going to take you longer to spend the whole percentage of them of your dollar amount. So that way you have leftovers in the next time you get paid. Okay. So let's do 450 times 5%. That's $22. So when she gets dinner, she spends less than $20. She knows that's less than 5% of her money. Okay. And we're just going to take our time to fill these numbers out because we want her to have options and flexibility. Okay, so 450 times 0.03, 3%.
So I got a question.
Yes.
So like
Mm-hmm.
for the living percentages, right? The
Mm-hmm.
50%, and you broke down the 50% in like small percentages.
Mm-hmm.
What are what are the categories of those other percentages should go in for a living?
The small percentages?
Yeah, like as like for example, like 5% for food, ten
Mm-hmm.
percent for transportation, stuff like that. Like, is that how it's supposed to supposed to go?
Mm-mm. So with this is where like the customization of the budget sheet comes in. What this is supposed to do for you is create an idea of how much you want to spend from day to day. The term living
Oh,
below
okay.
your means is very general. I don't know what that means. I didn't understand what that means until I did this 1%, 2%, because when I spend 1% of my money, that is not a lot. Okay. So I'm living very, very below my means because 450, 1% of that is $4. Okay. So I can go to Dollar Tree, get my get whatever I'm gonna get and be good. And so if I do that for 14 days and I still have $200 left over because I live below my means, then I have $250 to add to the next $900 I got paid. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So just from that example, let's say it's 14 days later, I got paid another $900. I didn't spend all of this because I was living on a 2%, 1%, 3% range day to day for 14 days. I had $250 left over. So now I have $1,150 that I actually have in my living bank account. So that's why I'm saying it's important for you to have a separate space for each of these things because you'll see the growth of your money faster and you'll be less confused, okay? You don't have to calculate, oh, is this my food money or is this my vacation money or is this my get nice sneakers money, you know? So that's why I recommend getting separate accounts. And so you would go ahead and do this 10%, 1%, 2%, 3%, 15%, all the way through for all of these things for your fund and your savings. Specifically, if you want to open up a Roth IRA or life insurance policy, you can do the same thing. It's nothing different about it. You may have to add the percentages, um, use the percentages longer so that you can actually invest into something like a S&P 500 index or bond, which is about $500. You may take the 180 and do 10% of that, $18 for a very long period of time so that you're able to buy the S&P 500 and invest in that and then get your return on investment after a period of time, however long it takes for you to get your $500 back and more. And so, I'm gonna finish this living so that y'all can see how much she saves for the next check and see how long it's going to take her to get to her $2,000 goal. But we're going to do it for living instead of fun because I already started on the living. Unless somebody wants to do fun. I'm not stopping. 450 times 2% is $9. 1% of 450 is $4.50. And then 450 times 15%, $67.50. And 20% of 450 is $90. And so she has these options to kind of be flexible throughout her day because you never know what emergencies may come up, even though you do have an emergency fund. So I have different sets of numbers for throughout the 14 days because if I am feeling generous and want to pay for my friend's lunch and my lunch, then I am going to use the 15% to pay for my lunch. And I understand that I spend 15% of my money. Okay. And so that means for the rest of that 14 days, I'm gonna probably be on 5%, 3%, 2%, 1%, and be good. However, if you are really determined to get this done, to meet your $2,000 goal very quickly, then you may not gravitate towards using your 15%, 20%. You may just want to use your $4, $9, $13, your $22 and be good. And depending on what type of lifestyle you live, you may buy groceries in bulk and do $40 that 1 week, and you'll make groceries for the next 7 days and be good. And then progress like that. Or if you go out every day, then you're going to have to choose if you want to spend your 1% of your living or do your 20%. Because if you do your 20%, I don't know what you're spending $90 on, what kind of food that is, but I'm not going to question that. You understand that it's going to be a faster pace to spend that money. Like you're more likely to spend it faster and it'll be gone. Okay. And what we're trying to do is get to our 2000. So let's say realistically, if somebody is, well, for me, I'm a college student. So I do not pay for groceries. And most of the time, I'm not spending my money. So I'm going to use this 1350 times 14 days because that's the next time she'll get paid. How many days until you get paid? So you want to put 14 days. Or if you get paid month to month, 28 days. But for her, it's 14 days. So we're gonna do 3%. 1350 times 14. 189. That is good. If she, okay, if Lou, I'm not talking to myself. I hope they still here. Okay.
Wait, do that again.
Okay. Luann, she's a college student. I'm a college student. Okay. And she spent $13.50 every day for 14 days. She would have spent $189. Luann get paid, she's got $450 in her living. Okay. She is comfortable, very comfortable. She got $261 is how much she saved. Because let's just highlight this so y'all can see the numbers I'm working with. She said, okay, I'm gonna just spend 3% of my money. Let's see. It's in light blue. Okay, that's not the best color. Let's do dark blue. So this is the number she decided to spend. I mean, if I get paid that, I'll be good too. I won't be worried about nothing. But I'm gonna do the number again. 1350 times 14. She spent that. That's $189. So let's just say she did that. Great. How much money did she save for these 2 weeks? 450 minus 189, because that's how much she spent, is $261. So this is just for her living, okay? You're going to be doing this for at least 3 areas of your life. Okay, that's a lot of extra money you could be saving or investing in, whatever you want to do. So 261, okay, extra dollars in her pocket. Now let's say she get paid $900 again. She does this again and it's 450. Let's see, 2,000 minus 261, 1,000. Okay. 1,739. 1,739 divided by 450. Okay, so she will have to do this about 3 more times, 4 more times to be exactly, to reach her $2,000 goal. Okay, she'll have to do this 4 more times. That means if she gets paid every 2 weeks, 4 weeks of the month, and she has to do this 4 more times. She did this one time, 2 times, that's 1 month. Okay, 2 months. She's good. Okay. So y'all can do the same thing. And this is the same strategy I did to grow my money. Okay. And so now I'm at a point where I'm like, okay, I don't want to just save money. I want to invest money. And so now I'm looking into Fidelity and how to work it in Bitcoin. So anyone has any questions? I hope y'all can see my screen. Yeah, y'all can see it.
Yeah, so for the savings, right?
Okay.
Matter of fact, I'm probably gonna ask this question later, actually.
Okay.
So yeah, go on.
All right, so that concludes our meeting. I will send y'all PDF forms of the Student Financial Ambassador budget sheets, as well as my personal budget sheet. And if you have questions on how to customize my budget sheet to fit your personal lifestyle, send me an email and we can schedule some time to do that. All right, so I'm gonna stop sharing. Stop sharing. Doop, 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 doop. Okay, and I'm gonna start recording.